Padres Hot Tub is brought to you by the Padres Hot Tub Patreon community. I mean, literally, they power us day by day, a community that's growing by leaps and bounds that you can become a part of simply by logging on to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. It costs as little as $5 a month to become a patron and join this community. And Chris Reed, when you do, what do you get? You get plenty of things, starting with peace of mind, but then what else?
Well, the tangible things kind of escalate as your tangible support escalates with it. So, just for the $5 dip your toe in amount, you're going to get access to our Discord. You're going to get access to the ticket marketplace. Next year, you'll get access to the fantasy leagues. But as you escalate your payments, you get t-shirts, you get baseball cards, and our huge patrons, our most dedicated zealots of the hot tub get a blanket, Craig. They get a magnificent, lush, toasty blanket that I can attest is a blanket.
It's a blanket. It's a backdrop. It's a blanket. They also get the chance to co-host an episode of Padres Hot Tub, which you're about to hear momentarily. So there's plenty of benefits.
Yeah, man. It's about investing in what brings you joy. We do the same thing. We have patrons who bring us joy. We invest in them. So yeah, go take a look at patreon.com.
Hey, when the team is not exactly playing 700 baseball, it's when we need each other the most, either to cut one another down or hopefully to lift one another up. So why not come be with a self-selected group of Padres fans who are trying to do the right thing? Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. Craig Elsten, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor, and we'd like to welcome this week's special guest. If you are on the free feed and you heard the ad, you heard us tease it, it's the truth. If you're a huge patron of Padres Hot Tub, not only do you get benefit upon benefit, but you get the chance to host your own show. And here he is, the bane of Padres Discord, the witch of the watch party. It's the one and only Tevin McReynolds joining us. Perfect timing in April with the team under 500. My dear friend, how are you?
I'm good. What's going on, gents? Thank you for having me. Gracious host.
Oh, no, it is our pleasure. I hope it's worth the privilege.
Oh, yeah. It's. I would say it's bad timing, but maybe for my spot, it's perfect timing.
So if you are not a member of our Discord, then you don't know of Tevin's famous nature or his infamy, depending on your point of view. Tevin is one of our most passionate Padres supporters, maybe a little bit neurotic in the watch party feed from time to time, but I find it to be one of our most intelligent and balanced and grounded fans. How would you describe yourself, Tevin? I'm trying to puff you up. How would you describe yourself?
I mean, courageous, bold, inspiring to others. No, I think you got it right. I think I'm fairly outside of the 3 hours that the game takes place. I feel like pretty grounded and level-headed about the team, but my anxiety can sometimes take over in game, and my fellow Patreons in the Discord have to suffer through that. Sometimes happily and sometimes not so happily.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of stuff happening, and the Padres are struggling at home in April once again. It's something that I feel has been kind of a Petco Park staple of sorts over the years, dating back to 2004. I haven't seen too many examples of the club literally being Petco'd in terms of high fly balls, Raphie, getting taken down and out short of home runs. But seeing the team not scoring at home damn, we've seen a lot of that, including as we record Monday night, where they're currently being shut out by the Braves.
Yeah, if anyone watched the final game against the Brewers yesterday, I think they actually might have benefited from getting Petco'd a little bit because there were some deep fly balls that the Brewers hit to the warning track that just died in the thick marine layer that was present yesterday. No, we were talking before we started recording, and it's kind of exceptional the last couple games in the last week or so. Not great exceptional, but just watching this offense of titans of the game seemingly have terrible luck and slow starts all at the same time. And I'm sure we'll get into it more as we go on with the show. But assess everyone's panic levels. I'm certainly not panicking, but it doesn't mean it's pleasant to watch.
You know, Chris, that's where I wanted to build off. And by the way, for everyone who's not watching, we want to let you know that Padres Hot Tub is many things now, by the way. We have always been a podcast. We are still a podcast. We are first and foremost a podcast. We are also now a video show. Padres Hot Tub has their own YouTube channel. We invite you to subscribe at Padres Hot Tub on YouTube. Just search Padres Hot Tub on YouTube and subscribe. Follow the channel. You'll be notified with every new video that we post. We're posting every show as a video now. We're posting every Pods Above replacement as a video as well. So please support us on our YouTube channel as well. But you know, Chris, as we continue here for the video folks, today I decided to wear my Manny Machado 2019 Padres jersey. This was given to me as a gift at work, which was really a sign that at the moment my boss didn't know my tastes, because the one thing I didn't want was any memories of this Walmart navy blue and white horrible iteration of like maybe the worst uniform in Padres. I think this is the worst uniform in Padres history, but Padres playing like the 2019 Padres right now, man. And you know, there's going to be a lot of optimism. There's going to be a lot of different talk, but I think it's really fair, Chris, for us to just start off and admit the obvious. Padres are not playing well right now. It's a bummer.
No, it's a team built with superstars that are not playing like superstars. And we're seeing, the drag, man. And that's what it's been. It's been a bit of a drag. But, the Padres are at their equivalent of not even 20% of the season. Nobody loses their minds in the NFL when their team's 1-1. We're not even 1-1 with our absolute sensational child of the stars waiting in the wings.
That would be Fernando Tatis Jr., who comes back on Thursday.
Oh, I meant Louis Campusano, just because he hurt his finger.
He did go on the 10-day injured list today.
He did it! Craig, you're growing.
I'm going to try.
On us.
I'm going to try.
You're losing all that you're losing that Bud Selig lexicon. It's just going away.
Well, I'm trying, man. I put a disabled list swear jar here in the office to see, and I don't want to fill it all by myself. So I'm gonna do my very best. But Tevin, obviously the team is struggling offensively, and we're gonna talk in a minute about the guys at the top of the lineup who are not delivering for this team. It's pretty obvious, but you get to the bottom of the lineup, and I know one of the positions that's been your favorite to pick on, but obviously the starting catcher has been the sinkhole so far that I think pretty much everyone predicted.
Yeah, well, you laid a softball up for me. I think Chris kind of spoke to it, which is it's early. So I think it's fair for us to sort of, if we want to be level-headed about it, there's a distinction between what should we really be worried about and what's going to solve itself with time. And I think we'll talk about Manny and Soto, but clearly Juan Soto is not going to hit 167, which is his batting average as of this moment. Clearly Manny's going to not hit 8 home runs this year. So there's a different level of concern. I think the concern after 17 or 18 games with someone like Austin Nola is, okay, are we getting a sense of the rhythms and the weaknesses of this team that are maybe not just going to solve themselves with time? And that to me is like where Austin Nola, not to pick on the guy, he seems like a good guy. It's a great story. He really sort of made himself into a major league player. I think it's debatable whether or not he's a legit major league player, but it's a huge weakness. And I think Chris and Chris spoke about this during the spring training was, Padres catchers suck ? And is made worse by new rules ? And I think we can now just put an exclamation point on that, honestly.
Yeah.
That, he doesn't, we're getting no production offensively. We can't control the running game. The first and last game of the Brewers series, look, we didn't hit, but the winning runs were decided by runs the Brewers scored because we couldn't control the running game. So what do we do about that position? I think that's probably, it's probably not our biggest problem, but it's probably the one problem that you can say is going to linger and not just sort itself out or revert to the mean, per se.
And, Raphie, we talked a little bit about Nola last week and about pop time, and the Padres are trying to, I think, to boost him up in that category and say no, he's a top 8 player, he's a top 10 player in pop time. Okay, but definitely there are some Padres pitchers, and you kind of want to say almost all Padres pitchers that really don't put controlling the run game at the top of the list. Ryan Weathers puts controlling the run game at the top of the list. And of course, he's going to allow enough base runners to, as we used to say in Stratomatic, always show off his hold rating. Like, look how good I hold runners on. Let's make sure there's a runner on first so I can show you how good my pickoff move is. But it does still come down, though, that Nola's part of the equation, right, Raphie? Like, yeah, Darvish might be slow and getting faster. Garcia is terribly slow. Other guys are slow, but Nola's always got that part of the equation that's allowing other teams to make the decision to run.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we saw it especially in the series against the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks, by the way, like the Orioles and the Guardians, the younger teams in the league, are just embracing this new run game. And they were just straight up challenging Nola and daring him to throw the Diamondbacks out, and he couldn't do it. So in terms of holding runners on, I think it was an AC tweet or someone tweeted out that, like, basically before one of the games in the Brewers series that Bob Melvin had eschewed extra batting practice and instead was like literally doing PFP, like hold runners, like pick off plays, like everything like that to try and practice it. So at the very least, the team is cognizant and aware of the issue. I just think especially when you have a veteran staff like this, they're going to be the ones that are going to have the hardest time adjusting the rules. That's the excuse that's going to be used for sure. I know that's the excuse that's being used right now for batters for the pitch clock is that, the veteran hitters are having the most trouble getting in the box on time, et cetera, et cetera. But, I think it's going to be kind of an adapt or die mentality, to be honest. And the faster that teams embrace change and embrace this new game, the more success they're going to see. I think this year there's going to be a tilt in the scales. There's going to be inefficiencies to exploit. And if teams are going to be stubborn and not recognize them, they're going to suffer. So, again, we're 17 games in or whatever to the season at this point. And I know that there's so much baseball left to be played, but across a league wide, that is enough games to at least have some sort of sample. When you're looking at one team, it's probably too small. But for instance, league wide, we know that offense is up. We know that average is up 6 points. We know that on base percentage is up. We know that slugging is up. We know that home runs are up. And we know that the run game is a successful tactic for teams. So it's basically, when are you going to open your eyes and when are you not going to? So that's a question for Bob Melvin and a question for the Padres.
And Chris, and by the way, I just want to say for all three of you guys, we got a 4-person podcast today. I'm the old classic veteran, so my default position is to be the dealer at the card table and to move the button each round and sling a card each one of your ways in order and to continue around the room just like that. But if anyone has something that they want to jump onto and tail off someone else's comment, please just jump in and disrupt the dealer's rhythm.
I only wish you had points to give out, like around the horn. I've always wanted to win that show.
Ba-bing, ba-bing, ba-bing. Great call, Chris. Ba-bing, ba-bing, +2. Yeah, man. Here's this is what I want to come to you with, though, Chris, because it's starting to get me frustrated. Like, I get the sympathetic articles that are being written, and we're just about to get into Juan and into Manny, but about, they're struggling, the pitch clock, it's really frustrating. How do they adjust? Chris, all 30 teams are getting sped up. All 30 teams had the same challenge in the winter, in the spring, and all the way to opening day. So losers make fucking excuses, all right? Winners make adjustments. The Padres are losers right now. They are crying, whining. Blake Snell holding up pitch count. Oh, this is terrible. This is so bad. This is the worst vintage wine I've ever had. Wine, WHINE, is the vintage that you're using right now, Blake. And I say the same thing to the hitters, man. You're not getting the job done. You want to cry about WBC. You want to cry about this or that. Make the adjustment, man. The other 29 teams are making the adjustment.
For sure. Well, not all 29. There's plenty of them that have won 4 or 5 games. But maybe the Padres may be the biggest letdown so far. That I don't know if that's true. I know that they're getting compared to teams like the White Sox. I want to say the White Sox are 6-10. They also have a, kind of top-heavy roster with a few guys that should be in the MVP conversation, but aren't for whatever reason. A couple guys that should be in the Cy Young consideration. One of them is. But they're 6-10. They're underperforming, and they're in the exact same way with the Padres. I want to say they're 21st or 22nd in the league, giving up stolen bases, whereas the Padres are 29th. Interesting enough, the Dodgers are still the only team worse than them. I don't know what that means. I think that the Dodgers, with their analytical bona fides, would have been out ahead of this a lot more than they are. So I don't think it's just that. Definitely don't need excuses, but I also think that winning kind of solves it all. We don't have all these little, needing to vent about whatever and explain failure away, because they just need to conquer failure. And I do think they will.
If I may, the one thing I would like to add is the Austin Nola piece, because I agree. I think the problem, I think you guys have hit, I co-sign everything you guys are saying about we've been laggards with the new rules, and it's a weakness, and Austin Nola does not bear 100% of this responsibility. But Bob Melvin is stubbornly playing Austin Nola into the ground in April when the guy is hitting, he is OPSing sub 300 and not throwing anyone out. It's like unless Luis Campusano slept with Bob Melvin's wife or something, I don't understand what's happening. So that's the thing. You're going
to the Jaws novel theory of love triangle.
Well, I don't. There's just all these stories about these euphemistic stories by the beat writers about, well, the front office and the coaching staff have these opposing feelings. It's clearly AJ Preller wants to play Luis Campusano and Bob Melvin doesn't. And that's just, last year there was this sort of creative tension between Melvin and Preller because it's a bit of a arranged marriage of sorts. And it can work really well, but this is an area in which I think we're seeing a lot of tension that's not as productive, where it's like, look, I think the Padres should be playing Campusano more, but if they went into the year where they were not on this, the front office and the coaching staff were not on the same page, they needed to resolve this in some way, because this is an untenable situation. Because now, if they're not going to play Campusano, they have to play Nola, and he's unplayable. So they're kind of in a pickle because they haven't really sorted that out in the offseason, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Just really quickly, I want to jump in about something. This is specific to Bob Melvin and Austin Nola, and Bob Melvin probably deserves more credit than this because he's an incredible manager. But there was a catcher who played in the major leagues who was a career 233 hitter with a 66 career WRC plus, and it was Bob Melvin. Okay.
Right.
And I think that there's something specific about a veteran catcher who fought his way up and can be viewed, if you want to view it in that way. It's like, for instance, Austin Nola this year, incredible at blocking balls behind the plate. He has single-handedly saved many runs. And I think that that's something that Bob Melvin can look to from the eye test perspective and say, okay, yeah, he's not hitting, but look at the runs he's saving on defense, and have that in his mind and in his heart. So I don't know that he deserves that. I just think that there's something specifically about Bob Melvin, career backup catcher, that I think has something, sentimental towards Austin Nola and sees the work he puts in. So that's something to think about.
I also want to, I just also want to note, Chris, that just from the reporting and factually, the reporting indicated that Luis Campusano was about to step into at least a 50-50 timeshare that was supposed to start with Friday's game, and he did start Friday. He hit his first home run of the year on Friday, and he hurt his thumb on Friday, and now he's on the injured list. They originally were like, oh, it'll only take a couple days, and now he's on the injured list, and they brought up Luigi from AAA. Hey, I'm Luigi, and I'm from Italy. I'm the new catcher for the team. I'm Luigi. Hey,
You want your pasta and your baseball.
or a fusilli and a block of the ball for you, and maybe a little marinara sauce. So Brett Sullivan is here, is what all of that means.
We're going to get letters now.
Yes, the great Italian name of Sullivan.
Yeah. I can't wait till he's got his own little banner in Little Italy. Great Italians throughout the ages.
Northia.
Yes.
Exactly. When they did the call-up tweet, I just quote tweeted it with a picture of Super Mario, just going like, yeah. It's like, okay. But yeah, so they can't play Campusano right now, Tevin, because he's hurt. Is just my point. They could play Brett Sullivan.
I want to.
Hey, you're gonna play me? I'm already here. What do you want? You can play me now.
Maybe that was going to be borne out over time, but I just don't like. There were all these rumblings that they were trying to trade for a catcher last trade.
Well, no, that's exactly the point I want to get at. Is Bob Melvin coached a guy in Oakland the every year before the last, named Sean Murphy, who got traded to the Braves for a bag of peanuts and a nice back scratch, from the A's. The Braves gave up plenty, but it went to the Brewers. The team that got better in that trade wasn't the A's. It was the Braves and the Brewers. And there were 2 catchers swapped. So there were options on the table. The Padres felt comfortable with Austin Nola, whether because they felt they had enough invested in that position that he could handle the staff, or whatever. And it just we've talked about maybe they weren't forward thinking enough on it. They could not have foreseen the difficulties with the WBC. I think I don't think they could have foreseen Darvish missing all the time he did going into the offseason. And I don't think you trade for somebody just because Darvish is going to be pitching for Japan. But I don't want to see the Padres get reactionary at the position. That's what brought Austin Nola here. They reacted to a guy who had done great in 200 at bats and thought that was the player they were getting. He hasn't been that player, and he just hit a double down the left field line in his scoring position.
Thank goodness for Austin Nola.
A blind squirrel
Savior.
and so forth.
Yeah, at least that one went fair. So I don't want to see them be reactionary. I want to see them work on these things. I wish it would have been more of a focus in spring, but I do understand the Padres were a team whose spring training was as affected as any's. Well, I just think that the solution isn't going to happen this week. And especially with Luis Campusano hurt, because he's the one. He's the catcher who should be playing 90 games this year.
And hopefully he'll get there. All right, let's get to the top of the order. As I was driving to work today, Ben and Woods took calls, which, but
I want to hear Cantor. This is my call out to the world.
God.
I want Coach Cantor to call into Ben and Woods this season. We need it. The San Diego fan base needs it. We need that friction. We need that fire. I'm manifesting it right now.
Yeah, I couldn't last 15 seconds when I got back into the car and he was on the air this afternoon. But in addition to the inevitable, and I got one of these tweets yesterday too. So I just want to say, we're going to be 18 games in by the time you're listening to this podcast, we're 18 games into the season. Get off the hitting coach. I mean, come on. For fuck's sake.
Thank you, Craig.
For fuck's sake, get off the fucking hitting coach. Yeah. I literally got today who's the hitting coach? They got all these star players, but they didn't get themselves a hitting coach, did they?
We need to find his name so we can be mad at him.
Yeah.
Though in fairness, if you read that story in the Washington Post by Chelsea Janes about Juan Soto, it sounds like Juan Soto was the guy complaining about the hitting coach. We're talking about Soto and his creative excuses, but anyway.
That WAPO piece by Scott Boris's intern.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, don't impugn Chelsea like that. But I want to get to that. But yeah. So Juan Soto is off to a poor start to this season. He knows it. Everyone knows it. Juan Soto was costing himself money in the short term, potentially in the long term. He knows it. Everyone knows it. And he's getting the vast majority of the heat right now for the Padres' lack of offense. We traded our whole franchise to get this guy, and all he does is walk. I literally heard a call, and again, I know I'm taking a straw man that I can easily beat the straws, but I heard a caller complain about Juan Soto drawing a walk in a one-run game in the bottom of the ninth on Sunday because he was too passive taking those changeups out of the zone as opposed to swinging. It's the dumbest, easiest thing to say about Juan Soto. Why don't he swing more when he takes walks?
That same person is going to look at Trent Grisham's at bat and be like, how can he possibly take that pitch? Because Trent just watched 3 professional batters have to spit on that changeup over and over and over again. I did? How am I now?
Yeah, but now you're
better.
Spit on a change over and over again.
Yeah,
it's all right. It's Riverside. I should have remembered. It'll be perfect on the edit.
Yeah, these guys they spit on it over and over again because it's a filthy pitch, and it looks like it's heading right down the middle, and it drops at the bottom of the zone, and it takes an expert, hitter like Nelly Cruz, who should have walked that at bat, or an expert, pitch seer like Austin Nola, who watches pitches come at him all day long. Trent Grisham wasn't up to it. Trent Grisham couldn't handle it. That fastball froze him like a popsicle I'm giving to my 4-year-old boy. And you can't. Yeah, Seager. He's not. He's here. He loves you guys. But you can't complain about both. You can't say Juan Soto needs to be more aggressive and pop out to the second baseman on a changeup out of the zone, and also say Trent Grisham shouldn't be sitting changeup, and needs to be ready to swing at anything that comes his way on 3-2. Now he should have swung.
He should have swung.
We all know that. We all know.
We all
know that.
Ridiculous. He should have swung. Everyone would have swung. I saw some stat this morning that they charted all the 3-2 bases loaded.
It was 200 something.
Yeah, and he was the first person to go.
No, it was like the 14th. It was like 270, and there were 14 people who did it. No, you got to swing. Even if the pitch hits the catcher's mitt, just swing. Just so we know you knew you had a bat in your hand.
Well, I mean, we talked about this in the Trent Grisham episode of Pods Above Replacement, but he consistently ranks as one of the least valuable players on pitches right down the middle. Now, he sort of makes up for it. You can't, not really, because because pitches down the middle are so valuable. He's really good against waste pitches for some reason. He's just somehow a world slayer, plus 19 runs or something last year against waste pitches. He is consistently terrible because of, to the Ben and Woods caller's credit, his passivity on those pitches. So it's entirely in character. It's just not what you want to see in the moment,
I just think the guy chooses a pitch. I think, and if it's not that pitch, he's not going to hit it. So he hits the junk pitch because that's what he's sitting on and he's looking for. And if he's not looking for it, he'll never get it, which seems, I don't know, that seems like a real MLB The Show 2021 way of doing things.
All right, but Tevin, I want to tee you up with another softball, okay?
All right, I'm ready.
Because and I also want to throw a tip of the hat to a great follow. If Twitter still exists by the time you listen to this podcast, by Thursday it may not. But at Too Much Mortons with an underscore after the letter S, is a great Padres tweeter, and he tweeted this morning the Statcast sliders for two of our biggest stars, or maybe our two biggest stars on this team. And he said, this is how biased the fan base is to two subpar starts. Soto is at 102 WRC plus. Manny is at 74 WRC plus. One gets way more blame, even when we all know those numbers won't last. And I will say, and you said it too, Manny's not going to finish with 8 home runs. Juan Soto isn't going to hit 182 like Trent Grisham did last year. That's not going to happen. I don't even believe that saying it on a podcast, no, it is going to happen now that you said it. Not going to happen. But Tevin, Manny's been terrible.
Yes.
So
much
far
worse.
this year.
He's been
awful.
He's been very lucky. And I have some thoughts on the Soto thing, because there's almost a backlash to the backlash of the Soto thing that maybe is not giving credence to like some of the legit criticism of Soto. But yeah, Manny's been atrocious. He has been, I'm trying to think of a worse stretch he's had as a Padre. Maybe there were some times during the second half of 2019 where he phoned it in and put on some weight and all that stuff, but his defense is bad.
Really bad.
Or at least bad.
No, it's been really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like the worst of his career. And in this particular game we're watching, the first run was a ball that he absolutely should have caught, should catch. Manny Machado should catch 99 and a half times out of 100.
He is.
And he led
and is not hitting. He's just not hitting the ball with any authority. He has 1 home run, and his average. If you were to go by quote unquote boomer stats, you'd look at his batting average and say, oh, okay, 240 something, whatever. He's been very lucky to hit what he's hitting, and his OPS is in the low 6s, I think, and even that has been like lucky, So that one is probably more concerning if you were to go by expected Statcast data, expected performance, and so forth.
Can I just back up what Tevin's saying, because I have actually that stuff right here. So Juan Soto's batting average going into Monday night's game is 172. Okay. His expected batting average, according to Statcast, should be 254. So he has an 82-point difference. He's getting incredibly unlucky on the balls in play. His slugging, by the way, right now, 379 going into tonight's game, expected to be 522. So they're thinking Juan Soto should be Juan Soto based on the balls he's putting into play. He's just not happening for him. Manny, on the other hand, going into tonight's game, hitting 254. Statcast thinks he should be hitting 219. And he's currently slugging 343. Statcast thinks he should be slugging 322. So super, super concerning stuff from Manny. And I'm not feeling really great right now. I'm not, again, I'm just like about the whole team. I'm not panicking. It's just like, I think the way that the fan base is reacting just makes me feel a little icky,
Yeah, but I don't think his performance is concerning. I think Manny Machado's a future Hall of Famer. I'm not that concerned. We know this isn't going to be what it's going forward. Whatever the funk is, it seems like each time the Padres were waiting for Tatis to come back, kind of mid-season last year, they had this weird little slump after starting kind of well. I feel like it's just a weird time for the team, and whatever's got Manny's timing off, whatever's got his mojo lost, he's going to find it. And this team is built with enough guys to get hot, to play 500 when at least half of them are playing badly. So I just want to, I'm not that concerned. Like, if it's August and Manny Machado has got a OPS of 664 and he's getting on base less than 3 times every 10, then we can be concerned and we can see why has Manny been bad for 4 months. But first 2 weeks with the pitch clock, I really think I don't want to go to the excuse thing, but Juan Soto and Manny Machado view themselves as premier players in the league who get to do whatever TF they want, that they're the show, that they are who people pay to see. And their show, their act has been,
bad.
No. It's been
it's
been
well
altered.
done, Devin. Well done.
I mean,
Devin.
I also think, look, Manny had a career year last. It's hard to have a 7. They call them career years for a reason. It's hard to have a 7.
Yeah, he has a whole career of career years.
Well, he has a career year of like a 4 and a 5 WAR season, and he'll probably finish somewhere in that range. Will he have another 7.5 WAR season and lead the National League in FWAR? I mean, probably. I would guess almost certainly not, based off how the year's starting, and that's. He's gonna.
These are guys that have played one way their entire lives. Juan Soto and Manny Machado have a routine that they've stuck to every at bat.
We just talked about that at the beginning of the show, that everyone else has the same routine.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't know. They're
Yeah, but I'm
professionals, they're
talking
very well paid. Like,
I agree, but these are guys that have been so much in it, and that's what I'm saying. They're going to. It takes time.
I think they're just playing like shit.
3 weeks in.
I think they're just playing like shit. I don't.
Sure.
It's. I mean, I think you're right.
Sure, and they're not going to play like shit for 160 games.
That's true,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's the rules. I just think they're just not playing well right now, unfortunately.
Well, Tevin, I agree. Actually, and that's it. Like, Chris, what you're saying is completely reasonable. Manny Machado, like, if anyone, let me flip it around. Anyone who would say after 18 games that Manny Machado is going to be a below replacement level player, that he's going to put up a Hosmer-esque minus 0.8 WAR, which is like literally what he's on the pace for right now, if not worse, right? Like, I think he's on pace to be a -1 WAR player this year, that we could literally pick up Matt Batten and do better than Manny Machado. And like, I don't believe that's true. And I think you're right when you say that. And I think that that's the single most reasonable thing that anyone could say if you're going to rip Manny Machado and Juan Soto, is to say these guys aren't going to be that way. So, chill. I'm not worried. Like, I agree with that. But having said that, what Tevin said is right too. They're playing bad. They're not playing well. Soto's bad defensively. He is bad offensively. Manny is bad offensively, and he is bad defensively right now. And they're hitting 2-3 in the lineup, whether it's one in front of the other or one behind the other. They're hitting 2-3 in the lineup every single day. You're not going to be a great team with your great players playing badly. So that I definitely agree with.
Craig, have you considered that Manny just has extreme empathy, and when he sees you, Darvish, struggling with pitch comm, it throws him off his defensive rhythm? Have you considered that, Craig?
Manny does not have great empathy. I guarantee you
Extreme empathy.
Yeah, that is not what got Manny Machado to his second $300 million contract. Was his extreme empathy? It was not that, to be sure. But you know what, Tevin, you brought up the Chelsea Janes article, and I would invite. I'm still a WAPO subscriber thanks to the Trump era, but I read Chelsea Jane's article. I thought it was a really, really good article. She's a very, very good.
Hey, for great
baseball
journalism,
writer.
people, it's worth it.
But here's the thing: Juan Soto knows exactly what's wrong. Juan Soto knows exactly what's wrong. He said it. He spelled it out perfectly. He says, "When I'm right, I'm hitting the ball hard to the shortstop. And as soon as I'm hitting the ball hard to the shortstop, all I have to do is lift it up a little bit, and now I'm hitting bombs the other way." And that's what's missing, and that's what's been missing since the trade deadline last year. Juan Soto is not hitting missiles the other way. Juan Soto is pulling the ball. He's pulling the ball over and over and over again, and he's pulling outside pitches, and he's pulling inside pitches, and he's pulling high and low pitches. Everything's going to the same spot, and occasionally it goes over the fence. Occasionally it rips through the infield or it gets into the gap, but most of the time he's hitting it to the second baseman or he's hitting it in the air to the right fielder. And it's simple. He knows what to fix. It's just not happening yet.
Yeah, I mean, the question is why. I agree with everything you're saying. I think that article, and Chris, you kind of alluded to it, like the subtext of that article is almost as interesting as the text of it itself, which is like, it drops like the day after Scott Boras is in town, and it sort of feels like there's all these stories, and then Ken Rosenthal has this other story, not to conflate different stories, but then Ken Rosenthal has a story Sunday about Soto talking about how he doesn't want to hit the second and the vibes, and he loved how the 2019 Nationals were like the most fun he ever had, and he's not really getting what he needs from the current. He's having to figure out in the Chelsea James article. He talked about how he needed to like figure it out on his own. I mean, I don't want to read too much into this with like rabbit ears and be like, oh, he's taking shots at people, or he's not talking about how he's not getting. It feels like a parade of excuses at the moment. And it's like, he's going to bounce out of it. He's not going to hit 165, but he had a 944. He has a 944 career OPS. And as a Padre, it's sub 760, I believe. So I get what people are like. There's the reactionary Padre fan who's calling into Coach Cantor being like, Juan Soto sucks. He only takes walks. And it's a very reductive, stupid argument. And I think people are pushing back on that, like the Too Much Mortons and throwing StatCast data back and saying, it's a much more nuanced argument. But it's almost, I also want to say, look, the truth is somewhere in the middle. Like, he has not been vintage Juan Soto as a Padre. And I think there's just some weird vibes going on. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but something is there's the on the field performance, and then now these stories, it's like, what is Juan Soto trying to say? Is he just in his head now? It's very strange to me, I guess. And
you want to
pose it to you guys.
Want to talk something weird? A Washington Post article is writing about a Padres outfielder. Like, how bizarre is that? When did that become important? The struggles of a Padres left fielder. Nobody was writing about Jurickson Profar losing his power after May last year. And this is being silly. I know why. It's Juan Soto. He's going to be a $500 million player. He's an industry unto himself. And the Padres, how do you deal with that? Bob Melvin's never had to deal with, 4 quarter billionaires in the same room, trying to deal with personalities, egos, histories. A lot of them are from the same country. Not Xander, of course, and Manny's from the U.S., but he played for the Dominican and a couple World Baseball Classics. It's got to be a lot. We don't know. We don't get to see it. It's not the most transparent clubhouse. I hate it when there's noise, because the noise is the smoke to the fire. It seems like there was noise in 2021. We've talked about how this team has 2021 vibes. I hate to say that once again, because the more we say it, the more it's going to come true. But I do want to point out that the 2021 team won right at the beginning of the year. They were
hot. Good. They were really good.
Yeah. They were fun to watch in the beginning, at least. And it wasn't until the end when the vibes did it.
Sorry,
just to put a
Manny Machado just ripped into another double play as we were
and I was going to say
recording.
right after Juan Soto walked,
so
it's
7
kind
pitch
of
straight
putting
walk.
putting an emphasis on our discussion tonight. So
I wonder if he's among the league leaders in double plays.
I don't think he's hitting the ball hard enough to be hitting into double plays. Usually
he's been into tons of them.
I don't know. He's just, that was like the hardest. I think that might be the hardest ball he's hit in weeks or in games. Yeah.
Well, it continues. The struggle continues. The Padres are now 3 outs away from getting shut out in back-to-back games at home to fall to 8-10. And there's a lot of negative things that we can talk about this offense. I do want to talk about something positive for the Padres, and that's Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts continues to hit. Bogaerts got the first hit tonight. Bogaerts is one of the top players in F-WAR. so far early in the season. Sure, he's had a high BABIP. His Statcast slider for his arm is at a glorious 1.
Oh no!
Out of 1 to 99, it's at 1. So, I will again refer folks to the Pods Above Replacement video on Xander Bogaerts explaining precisely why his weak arm is uniquely ill fit for shortstop. One of the plays in the Brewers game earlier this week was like literally one of the ones, Raphie, you guys clipped for that podcast, a little ground ball to the left side that his arm couldn't turn into an out. So he comes with his pluses and minuses, but right now I don't even know where this team would be without Xander Bogaerts. They'd probably be 6 games under 500 right now, Raphie.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of go back to what we were saying, let me start with the positives, okay? Xander Bogaerts is incredible. I love watching him. I'm so happy he's on the team. It is such a joy to see him play. He seems like an incredible dude. And also, we said on Pods of Replacement, less doubles, more dingers. The guy does not have to deal with the green monster anymore, and it shows. He is ripping line drive home runs to left field in Petco Park. I was there to see one of them. It was glorious. And that is like a joy, and you're right. Who knows where we'd be without him? I just want to point out, we mentioned earlier, Juan Soto, 82 points expected batting average is higher than his actual batting average. He's getting incredibly unlucky. Xander Bogaerts is 79 points on the other side. He's hitting 354 going into this game, and he's expected to hit 275. I'm not saying that in like a value judgment of either guy. I'm just saying we're 17 games into the season and this stuff is going to even out over the course of time. Is Xander Bogaerts pacing currently to be a 16 F4 player? No, that's not going to be sustainable. It's just not going to happen. But I do want to give Xander some credit on the defensive side. The defensive statistics, they take a full season really to get a full sense of things. It's like so much of batted balls in play, which influences defensive statistics, is randomness and who knows the sample that he's getting so far. But currently he's an above average defensive shortstop, despite his arm, which is great. And I'm happy for him. And that's good. Am I getting tagged in my fantasy baseball group chat every time he does something incredible on defense? Because people are like, you said, yes, absolutely. Of course. But I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. And like I said, and like you said, Craig, who knows where this team would be if he wasn't on it right now.
It's been a lot of fun to watch him play. And Tevin, with so many things to be concerned about right now for this team, I feel like Xander Bogaerts is I think he's 26th on the list right now.
Yeah, he's been as advertised. I still think his signing probably created some roster configuration problems that with Kim and Cronenworth, but nobody wants to hear that. I get it. People want to enjoy Xander Bogaerts, and he's a throwback as a hitter, and as a ball player. He's got a 2-strike approach. He doesn't overswing. He'll take the ball the other way, his numbers are going to fall, but I think he has an approach also that lends itself probably to less streaks, even though he's on a hot one right now. Which, on this team, I think not just the performance, but I think the steadiness is probably something sorely needed, because it's a team of the 4 big stars, he's probably the least streaky, just in terms of demeanor and style of play and how he performs, which is, I think, actually going to serve the team really well. Soto and Manny, I mean, we're seeing the streakiness right now. I mean, Tatis, there's not a less dependable superstar in baseball by definition than Fernando Tatis Jr. So it's really been a fun watch, and I think it's going to bode really well for the year for us. That's for sure.
Well, you just offered me the opportunity. Let's transition into Nando.
Yeah.
By the time people are listening to this, most on the free feed Tuesday lunchtime, all of our patrons Tuesday morning usually, unless you're one of those Monday late night go-getters, you night owls. Fernando Tatis is going to be essentially about 56 hours away from being a San Diego Padre again and being in this lineup. And I tweeted the other day, Twitter's about to die. You can follow me at 619 Sports until it dies. like he might want to mix in a couple strikeouts or flyouts in the minor leagues because he's reaching Kramer telling the sick kid in bed it's a guarantee you're going to get 2 home runs level of like you have built yourself up a little bit high. 515 on base percentage, 12-12 WOBA in the minor leagues, homers in 4 straight at bats, WRC plus of 300 in AAA. Like, I get what you're saying, Tevin. I get it. Dude fell off a dirt bike, hurt his wrist again, swinging an axe, as the Paul Bunyan narratives go, and then, there was the horrible ringworm and all the repercussions to the ringworm.
Yeah. And by ringworm, we mean caught cheating, right? I just want to clarify.
Right. We mean the steroid usage. It was for ringworm, Tevin.
Okay, right,
this is a Padres podcast. Okay. It was for ringworm. And as such, an entire season missed. And yes, the end of 2021 was bad. And yes, his shoulder subluxated 6 or 7 times in 2021. They fixed the shoulder surgically, objectively. They fixed the wrist surgically, objectively. He hasn't tested positive for anything because he's been in the minors. It was when he went to AAA that he went pop last time. So, Tevin, come on, man.
Yeah. Well,
Fernando's coming back. He's going to kick ass, right?
Yeah. I mean, you look, I mean, this is where as Padres fans, we're in this really weird space where we're sort of at the eye of the hurricane from the Padres are probably the most relevant baseball team in America, or I guess North America. Let's not discount the Blue Jays.
We're beginning to sound a lot like Yankees fans all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, Fernando's return. I mean, this is one of the storylines of the sport. What's going to happen? How's he going to do? Is he going to be the best player? Like, I don't think it would surprise any of us if he comes back and he's the best player in baseball outside of Shohei. I wouldn't be shocked. So everyone should be super excited. I mean, I'm excited. He also hasn't played in a year and a half. And the last time he played, he was, at the center of a team implosion and getting shouted at publicly by Manny Machado for being a horrible teammate. And then, last year, they imploded in all sorts of more terrible ways. So we don't know. And he's also always gets injured. I mean, I don't want to be negative. It's like, Fernando he's just, it's so interesting. It's so exciting and exhilarating. And the hope is that he comes back and he is just a spark for a team that right now looks pretty lifeless. And he diverts attention away from Soto and from Manny. And he performs and he's the kindling, to the fire, to the flame.
Can I just quickly write on the back of that? Because I want to be armchair psychologist for a second. I'm not qualified to do that. My wife is a therapist, so I'm just going to borrow some of her credentials for a second.
Sure, you sleep right there. It makes
exactly.
sense.
Osmosis. It's osmosis.
It's osmosis, for sure.
Exactly. It does feel like if I were to put a kind of pin and cause of what this offensive struggle of late has been, it feels like the team is waiting for Fernando to come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where I'm at too, man.
He is the elixir to this whole thing, and I think it's permeating throughout the clubhouse. And so I think that there's going to be, in a way, this sigh of relief when he comes back. And yes, are the presumptive NL East champion Atlanta Braves standing in the way of getting there? And do we have to try and play a good series against them? Yes, but I do think that there will be this exhale when he comes back, Chris.
I'm with you, man. Fans, the Padres fans with generations of trauma feeding our anxiety, aren't the only ones who get anxious. Major League Baseball players have to go out there day in, day out and look stupid trying to hit that stupid white ball. And then when it doesn't work, their anxiety feeds into it too. I wanted to quickly try to look up how the Padres did to support my assertion that they struggled last year when he was about to come back. But I'm certain it's true because it was at the trade deadline and they were struggling. So for whatever it is, they don't do well when they're anticipating his return. His return is imminent, as is the return of Joe Musgrove.
Here's another thing, and I just want to be clear about this, because, I mean, barring now an absolute miracle, Padres are going to lose again. They're going to get shut out again. When you play the Braves, the Mets, the Brewers, and the Braves.
Yes, Craig. Yes, preach.
And those are definitely 3 playoff teams right now in baseball. And you're not playing well at the time that you play those 4 teams in succession with 0 days off, some of them on the East Coast and some of them on the West Coast, you're going to put up losses. That's baseball. And right now, the Braves are playing great, and the Padres are playing like shit. They are not hitting the ball. Now, are they pitching horribly? No. They're going to have lost back-to-back games giving up 1 and 2 runs. That's terrible. And listen, if I wanted to be Tevin in the watch party right now, could that be the thing that 4.5 months from now, they lose a thing by a game or 2 games, and we think about those games in April that they gave up 1 run to the Brewers and lost, and then they gave up 2 runs to the Braves and they lost? Yes, maybe.
That's
down the road, possibly, that could be the case. It's not going good for the San Diego Padres right now, and they're 8-10. But Tevin, it's not the finished product, right?
No,
this is a team in evolution.
I think we need to have 2 thoughts in our heads as if we trying to be sober about it, which is, just as a pure.
I'm not so sure I want to be sober about anything tonight.
Just watching. If there's a player in baseball who harkens back to us enjoying it with a childlike wonderment, aside from all these silly emotions and neuroses we put on this team we follow, it's Fernando, because he plays with such. It's so much joie de vivre, if I may say.
Yeah.
So we should just all be. It's just enjoy. It's going to be just so much fun to watch him. It's been too long. The hyper analytical side of my brain, though, also says, look, he's not a fix for everything. And he could also come back and play 80 games because he always gets fucking hurt. And we didn't think to acquire a replacement level 4th outfielder.
So we did, but 2 of them are hurt.
Well, David Dahl wasn't in the majors last year. I don't know. It's so.
Don't you speak about my king.
Come
on.
Yeah.
Dahl's coming back, and his tan's going to be better. His sculpt is going to be even more yoked.
Yeah. So I think look, there's an analysis of the situation of, is Fernando the be all and end? Is he the savior? I think there's other issues.
Yes, he is. They're going to win more games.
I'm not going to begrudge people we're now going to be 48 hours out from this thing by the time people probably listen to this, of him returning. Look, we're there. Probably going to be 8-12 off a 1-6 homestand when he returns. But let's see what happens.
Hey guys, I want to give you something real quick. Make you feel great about this offense. 2 through 6 in the lineup tonight went 1 for 18.
Woo! But there was a walk, and when they did woo, so that point, that part was good. This team is. Hang on a second. Wait for it a little longer. Playing exactly the way I thought they'd play. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so.
I want to blow up Craig's spot a little bit because we ran into each other at the driving range this weekend when I was down in San Diego, and I asked him, "Are you more happy that you're right about the team or sad that they're struggling?" And he said, "I'm more happy that I'm right about the team."
I mean, of course. Come on. Of course I am. Of course I am. I mean, give me a break. I told you guys it was going to be like this. I told you literally, Tevin, I said 8-12.
Yeah. That's what
I literally fucking said 8-12.
You're going to be wrong. It's going to be 9-11, and I'm going to laugh.
I hope so, because I said 10-10. I gave myself that range. I said minimum.
I know.
And by the way, they've already
said.
hit the minimum of 10. They're at 8-10 right now.
You're right. They didn't come out firing. They didn't have 2 series against the Reds to feast upon. They had to play the Braves twice.
Yeah.
You were right. You're
I was
friggin' right.
Yeah, I think at this point, like, we just have to wait for Fernando to come back and hope that that is the catalyst for a whole lot of other things. He himself cannot change everything. The bottom of the order is still like just a sea of bad lays, a sea of outs, just there. So we only get 27 outs. When you're just giving away 9 of them every night, you're gonna be back to back shutouts if Juan Soto and Manny Machado aren't hitting. So hopefully Tatis is just is the fire, lights is the kindling, like I said. But even when, it'll be interesting. And Craig, you've made this point before, as he comes back, it's probably going to be a slow burn from there as well, to just beat this analogy to death. That will be interesting. If in 2 weeks, as the schedule lightens up and they get more off days and they probably move to a 5-man rotation, if things are still slow and they're still a 500 team in third place in, mid-May,
they will be.
That'll be interesting.
No, they will be. They will be, Tevin. Nothing changes overnight. And look, could the Padres, starting Thursday, win every game for 2 weeks? Yes. Is there going to be a point where the Padres win every game for 2 weeks this season? Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to take time per se? Like, what is it? Is it the melding of the talent? I mean, why do you think it's going to take some time even after Fernando gets back?
Because we've got multiple things that need to click into place. It's not just one thing. Okay, what's the most obvious thing? The offense, right? So could Tatis single-handedly change things by bombing homers and deflating the confidence of pitchers, and then they start hanging things to Soto, et cetera, chain reactions, Chernobyl offense at the top? Sure. That could happen. That absolutely could happen. I hope that happens. I think eventually that is definitely going to happen. Just taking out, like you were talking about, Tevin, taking that automatic out right fielder batting ninth and replacing him with a superstar right fielder batting first, and then kicking Grisham from first to ninth, it makes a huge difference in the lineup. So that, I think, will improve. But the lineup's not clicking right now. It's not like the lineup's clicking and now we're going to add Tatis. The lineup is the opposite of that. The lineup's dead on arrival, and now we're adding Tatis. So everyone's not, maybe one game. Remember when Soto showed up and everyone hit a homer in the first inning and it was like 1,000-0 against the Rockies, and we're like, that's it. We're going to win 1,000-0 every game. And then they lost for 3 straight weeks. It's not going to be one thing. But the defensive side is still a problem for the Padres right now. The base runner side is still a problem for the Padres right now. And Tatis is not coming in to be the 8th inning reliever for the Padres right now.
I mean, he's got a cannon, Craig.
Let's
give Shohei a run for his money.
I'm not against the idea, but nonetheless, we still have Nabil Crismatt pitching relevant innings for this team right now, and that's not okay. I mean, Domingo Tapia got sent out for Reese Kinnear. Reese Kinnear, by the way, pitched brilliantly on Monday night, pitched 2 shutout innings.
Tonight, too.
That's what I mean, tonight. Monday night. Also known as tonight.
I mean, look, I'm the doomer of doomers, but there are some things that have been happening that you can be happy with, right? Brent Honeywell, you can be happy with. The bullpen roles are getting solidified. Even San Suarez, you can be happy with. The grumblings are they're going to move away from this ridiculous 6-man rotation when Musgrove gets back and they're off days. Well, that inherently is just going to add an extra good, like one more very competent reliever to the team, whether it's Lugo or Martinez. So that's very good. Weathers might replace Crismatt. I don't know if they're going to do that, but there are things within the pitching staff that are falling into place. The good news is they gave up 3 runs in 2 games. You should win those at home. You should win those games. So, if you want to have our optimist hat on, those are all very good things. They just need to fucking hit.
Well, no, absolutely. And so that's why I say muddle on. But also, here's the last part of the why would you muddle on from April 20th to mid-May aspect. Simple. Pressure.
Yeah.
Statistics don't reflect the human element. And here's where I'll sound 50 years old for a minute, and I'm one of the biggest early adopters of sabermetrics that you'll know in the world, okay? But I've always adopted it as an amalgam, as look at the whole picture. It's not all one or all the other. This team is under pressure. This team was built to be outstanding, and they're 8-10. They're floundering right now. They're playing maybe the best team in the league right now, waiting for Fernando Tatis to get here. And when he gets here, the team could be having lost 7 of 8 and in a rut. And at that point, asking this kid to become Superman and superstar, guess what? It takes one game of him missing a throw or striking out with 2 runners on and the team losing for every single negative nattering nabob to come popping out of El Jardín and say, there he is. I told you. Didn't give him the steroids, did you? Guess he's no good again. And to send it into a whole nother week of, well, now you got him and now you're no good?
Yeah.
Where is that hidden coach? Where's a rope? Where's a tree and where's a rope? You know, like, we're going to get every asshole out of the garden here in quick succession. And pretty much the only thing that stops that is for the team to immediately score and win over and over again. That's not human nature. That's not the nature of pressure. And I suspect it's going to start the day after you think it will. You know what I mean? I suspect it's going to start with a random ass Juan Soto 4th inning single over the shortstop's head.
Yeah.
That's how it works, man.
Down 4-0
Yeah.
to the fucking Pirates or the
And
Reds.
That's, as Bud Black would say, that's baseball.
That's
Listen,
baseball.
it's not apples to apples, okay? But I just want to point out that yesterday I rode the train up from San Diego so that my softball team wouldn't forfeit. It was the 3rd inning when I got down there. We were down 8-2. Just the divine wind of my presence turned everything around. I hit a really high moonshot up to the sky. Center fielder couldn't get it. All of a sudden, I'm on second base with 2 ribbies. Everybody's screaming. Everybody's going nuts. All of a sudden, a rally. We win 15-12. That's going to be the Padres record in 9 games. There it is. I'm calling it. Or what is 6 games? I'm not going to do math tonight. So 20.
They're gonna go 7
27
in the next.
Yeah.
In the next.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up a point in which Raphie mentioned, in which Craig, would you rather be right? Would you rather be right or the Padres winning? Applying that logic to Tatis. It's interesting that the team there was a lot more anger and frustration directed at him. And right now, boy, it seems like the guys are bear hugging the hell out of him because
I feel like there was only one person who let out anger at him at the time, and that person, we're not even going to say his dang name because you want to talk about bad vibes.
Yeah.
That guy's gone.
Yeah.
Well, no
Came out to
Joe
Gold Digger
also
for his
was a
first
little-
White Sox start.
Don't we can just dump it. I literally ripped the autograph card I had of him in half. It's gone. He's gone. The White Sox are gone.
Gone. At least we're not the Sox, Tevin.
Yeah,
Well,
dude, you can be a White Sox fan, Tevin.
Oh man, White Sox French dip.
That's a tough existence.
Okay, I think we're almost at the end of the road. I mean, yeah, Michael Wacha pitched bad. Yu Darvish pitched great. We're happy that Yu Darvish pitched great. We expect that. Blake Snell is still Blake Snell. He's friggin' obnoxious. I think I mentioned it. I forget if I said this last week on the show or if it was just. I'm looking forward to next year when Blake Snell isn't on the team. I
We're
really am.
Give the man hope. He hasn't even had his second half yet. He
I know.
might still give us a moment or two, but I
I've
know
still
what you're
got
saying,
the jersey.
Craig.
I'm not going to burn the jersey. I'm still going to
you're not
wear
gonna
the
rip that
jersey.
You're not
Yeah.
gonna burn him in effigy.
I mean, unless we hear something Clevenger-esque, right?
Well,
but
the one thing I'll add, and we've been talking about this in the Discord, and I've been accused of boomer logic on this one, but the Padres are 21-34 with Blake Snell as a starting pitcher. That is a 63. That is that's a winning percentage that would get you to 63-99 over 162 since he's joined. And the Padres are, I think, 25 games over 500 in games not started by Blake Snell in that time frame. Yeah, I mean, look, we're on the Blake Snell. We bought the ticket. We're on the ride. There's,
right.
I feel this way about like Craig, to your point, like Soto, Snell, like it's a veteran-laden team. Like almost worrying about it and kvetching about it. It's like, look, these are the guys they have. There are no moves to make with this. They're not going to bench any of these guys. Like we just have to ride through it. We have to ride through the worst slump of Juan Soto's career. We have to ride through the first terrible 8 starts of every Blake Snell season that he's ever going to have. And we have to just push through it. And in some ways, maybe we're fortunate that to be only 2 games under 500, given that
Xander Bogaerts might be a game or two, in the W column, just him alone.
No, but I mean, you're onto something though, Tevin, and it was something I wanted to say before the show's over in terms of, I think this is a really difficult spot for Padres fans that they haven't truly internalized yet, guys. And any one of you guys can jump on this at the end of this comment, but team feel-good vibes we extend everybody, that lasts until the moment that the players you extend are not performing.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that the players you extend are not performing, then it stops being this great, happy, feel-good vibe, and it becomes a what the fuck do we do? Because the thing that you're used to with baseball is flexibility. Hey, this guy's a bum. Get rid of him. There's somebody in AAA who's a much better, is a lot cheaper. Maybe his name is Luigi. I'm over here. No, sorry. Done with the voices. But, this team is our team. Like, ain't no getting rid of Manny Machado. If Manny Machado's the worst player in the league, he's going to be the worst player in the league for 11 seasons for the San Diego Padres. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be the sink on the team for 11 straight seasons. So if you want to think that way, you're fucked. You got to go find a different team to root for. Like, it's that simple. Like, you're either in, like, if you think Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jake Cronenworth and Yu Darvish are bad bets, get out. Like, right?
Can I jump on that and use a non-baseball analogy for this? Because we all live in Southern California. I had a period in my life where I was just so paranoid about earthquakes, where I was like, it was after we'd had a big one and I was like, another one's going to happen, whatever. And my therapist had said to me, paranoid people are right. Eventually something terrible is going to happen. It's just no way to live your life. You're going to be miserable waiting for the thing, and you'll be underneath the table. I was right. And you will have spent 5 to 10 to 20 to your whole lifetime in absolute states of misery. That's not why we watch the game. We watch the game because maybe something nice will happen because it's baseball and it's stupid and no one should watch it to begin with. Okay. So we're all grimacing and kvetching and trying to make sense of all of this. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit of randomness and a little bit of luck, and it's going to turn the entire thing around. And just to put a button on what you said, Craig, about, the team struggling and then Tatis will come back and then they'll be struggling for a couple more weeks. What was the last part of your prediction? From May 15th to the end of the year, they'll be the best team in baseball. And
Correct.
I don't want to forget that. Like, if Craig Elsten has the crystal ball, then okay, great. Then we are along for the ride and let's fucking enjoy it. Okay?
That's it. There's got to be a level, and I know I hope I don't sound like pretentious or like, I know so much, but like, it's baseball. We've built a thing. We spent the winter waiting for the car to come out, right? And you just see it through the glass. Oh my God, it's going to be so amazing. and then it comes out and it's not quite what you expected.
Yeah.
You know, like your fantasies are never going to live up to your reality. Expectation is the thief of joy is another one of the ways to put that. And we're living that.
I
right
love
now.
it when you channel Tim Flannery. It's one of my favorite Craigs. It's probably but to your point, and
Do you have a guitar in there, Craig?
It's probably
may have a bong, but
why some of us fixate on Austin Nola. I mean, aside from him being fucking terrible and probably the worst catcher in Major League Baseball as a starter, which I think he is. He's the worst starting catcher in baseball. I think we can say that. It's like it's an escape hatch. It's the one position we're not sort of hemmed in on. Where we're like, what can we fix? We need to fix something on this team. We're not going to get rid of Manny and Soto and Grisham and Crone and Snell. Like, it is the team. We kind of need to just like, the team's going to have to revert to form a little bit here. And, you know, Soto's not going to hit 163.
Tevin, did we lose the Nola trade?
I think we lost the Nola trade the day it was made, unfortunately.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that to
I think there needs to be a commissioner's report on how Dave Cameron, who was a born and raised a Mariners fan, but was employed by the Padres at the time, helped orchestrate that trade, and then summarily went and got hired by the Mariners like a year later.
We're just
Double
saying
agent.
many people are asking questions.
I'm just saying, right?
Yeah.
Every time I see Matt Brash with like a frisbee slider or Andres Moon,
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on?
This is what I want the next Pods Above Replacement episode to be about. What?
Yeah.
It's just gonna be me and Prakoda chain smoking in front of a corkboard with strings. Just like,
exactly.
Hey, listen to me, okay?
It's the Charlie Day meme, just like
Yeah, exactly.
actualized. Yeah.
Prakota's still in a friggin' baseball NBA top, but he's got this.
Yeah.
Give him a
I'm gonna be
cigarillo.
a doctor. I know this is terrible
Yeah.
for me, but I have to do it. Like,
I want him with a
Prakoda
Cruella
is
DeVille
he is
long
the Pat
stem
McAfee
cigarillo.
of the medical profession, I think. I think we can say that.
On that, gentlemen, without any further objection, I'm going to bring a close to this episode of Padres Hot Tub. Tevin, absolutely outstanding job guest hosting, my friend. I think you brought a ton to the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you guys for having me. I've been a long-time listener and supporter of the pod, so it was a pleasure and a joy, and go Padres.
And hey, don't forget, huge patrons get the chance to host an episode of Padres Hot Tub. Tevin took advantage. You can too. Go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. You don't have to jump in as a huge patron. You can dip your toe in at the $5 level, check out all the benefits, see if you enjoy the community, and then tailor your spending to the level of your choice. For the great Chris Reed and the great Raphie Cantor and Tevin McReynolds, who's great too, I'm Craig Elsten. Slightly above average. Hopefully, I'm a Padres Hot Tub above replacement. Thank you for watching the Padres Hot Tub and for listening to the show. We'll talk to you down the road, and go Padres.